welcome back to the Ludiverse. I am Jay.
I'm Courtney.
And we have another guest with us, a friend of mine. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Rebecca.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
So, primarily, I saw that you had an interest in exhibitionism and voyeurism.
Yes.
Okay. Would you care to explain what that is and what that is to you?
Well, just, as kind of a basic, I guess, overall definition, exhibitionism is enjoying being, in the kink sense, I guess, being naked or engaging in sexual activity, somewhere along between those two things, in front of other, hopefully willing participants. Everyone needs to be on board. And then, the voyeurism is kind of the other side of that. It's enjoying watching other people engage in nudity or, sexual activity. Again, as long as everyone is on board. For me, it ranges from I just like being naked in general. It's comfortable. So I enjoy visiting nude beaches. I live in Florida, so they're all over the place. I do that as frequently as I possibly can. And in that sense, it's not a sexual thing at all. There do exist nude beaches where sexual activity is, quote unquote permitted. It's kind of not technically on the rule book, but it's expected that it's going to happen. I personally, I'm not there for that. I prefer the ones that are it's just like any other day chilling at the beach, but you're in the most comfortable state of being that you can possibly be to me, which is naked. You don't have to worry about anyone, staring at you, making comments, whether they be, rude and hurtful or, inappropriate and lewd. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's just, you're just there to relax in a beautiful setting. And you get to be naked while you do it. Like I said, I love being naked. So there's that. But then there's also the side where I enjoy visiting swingers clubs. I've never been much into the group sex. I tend to stick to my partner, but I do very much enjoy watching the groups or, the swingers club that I used to go to all the time had the different rooms that you could rent out for the night and leave the curtains open basically. So, I enjoyed going through the club with my partner, seeing watching what everyone else was doing. That would get us going, so to speak. And then, also very much enjoyed getting a room of our own and leaving the curtains open for, everyone to be able to watch what we were doing, whether that was me engaging in some solo act, masturbation, whatever, or, us actually having sex, oral, whatever. And, honestly, the bigger the audience we could attract, the better. It was more thrilling, more exciting, more arousing to know that, I've got all these people wanting to watch me and what I'm doing with my body, what my partner and I are doing together. And, I mean, for me personally, I always loved it whenever we would leave the room and we would get compliments from people and we would have people are you guys going to be back here next weekend? They wanted to see us specifically. Just, super flattering, super arousing. And then kind of in the mid-range of that, I guess for, exhibitionism anyways, is I like to, get naked in places where I'm not technically supposed to, I guess you would say. So outside, I'm not trying to show anything to anyone that they don't want to see. I don't, would never do it in a crowded public place unless that were condoned / accepted, like a nude beach. But for instance, there's a park near my house. The trails go way back into the woods. If someone were to happen upon you, you would hear them coming, so you could cover up quickly. I've gone back there several times and done, photo shoots, either fully nude, partially nude, whatever. And just that idea that, I could get in trouble for this, or I could, someone's going to stumble along and see me is, it's, it's got a little thrill to it. It's arousing. So, yeah.
Definitely. I completely agree. I have a little bit of that in me, other than the fact that one time I went to a sort of swingers club, but it was really sketchy and I just wasn't really feeling the vibe, mostly because it was pretty much all men in there, and the person that I went with, we ended up having sex behind the door, and I could just hear all the men on the other side of the door just listening, which was kind of hot, but at the same time kind of odd because there was like nobody else, no females, nobody else there. So I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do this with the door open.
Yeah, for sure. We the one I always visited, it's, you know, I'm from Central Florida. It's just over the county line in Tampa. It's a really small little place, but it's it was actually, I don't know how they managed it, if it was just happenstance, but there was always a really kind of even mix. You know what I mean? So and we used to go every weekend, me and an ex of mine for, 2 or 3 years, we would go every weekend. And I don't think I ever recall there, being a time where there were way more of one, than the other. So that maybe contributed to my liking. Like I've never really I've only ever been to like 2 other ones, and it was very briefly, and I kind of got the same thing. Like I wasn't feeling the vibe from it, so we didn't really stay long. We didn't do anything there, just kind of went, had a couple drinks to check it out, and then left. The one in Tampa was the only one that I was ever like super comfortable enough at to do anything at. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But other than that, yeah, I enjoy showing off in front of people. I enjoy being naked for other people. I think it's very, it gives me a lot of confidence, I guess.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like the flattery from other people. Makes me feel good about my stretch marks and mom bod.
Oh, for sure. Like I don't have kids, but I definitely have a mom bod, and like I've always been a chubby girl. I have a tummy, I have an impossibly huge butt, really wide hips, and I got teased a lot growing up. Never was really confident, about my body until like my late 20s, honestly. And it was kind of a hard fought and long won battle, but it, like, I was going to bring that up at one point, how it really does help your confidence. Like on the one hand, yes, that comes from inside, but we're all only human, and of course it's flattering to have other people think that you're attractive. Like that's just how our brains are wired. There's nothing wrong with that little serotonin, dopamine hit that you get from a compliment from someone else, but it definitely does give you like a massive confidence and ego boost to know, like, hey, these people really think I'm hot and they really dig what I'm doing. Like it feels good. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, personally, I've never been comfortable showing my body. It's like I don't feel comfortable even being naked in the shower. I think it depends on the environment you grow up in. Like in Florida, there are nude beaches, so
Right.
the human body is a little more accepted in its variances.
Sure, yeah.
And in Central Ohio, there are no nude beaches, so you're going to get your ideals of beauty from what the media says. It's like, these models are beautiful. This person over here that's 40 pounds overweight and has hair all over their body is not, so that you should shame them.
Right.
So,
and I mean, like, honestly, like, am I allowed to curse? Is that okay?
oh yeah, this is, it's...
I assume, but just making sure, like, fuck that shit.
Exactly.
Like I said, like growing up as, a chubby person and as a chubby female, especially, because that's still to this day, I feel like body positivity has really like taken a hold on things, but we're still getting there. Like just last night on, I just started an OnlyFans. I've done content on and off for a while, never done it on a platform, but finally, I need the money, so I was like, all right, let's kind of do this and make it, quote unquote official, and had my page up for less than 24 hours before I was getting trolls on Twitter, telling me that I look like a man and, fat, ugly, gross, whatever. And it's just like, to me, like that shit doesn't hurt my feelings anymore. I'm like back in, when I was a kid, yes, but like I realized that those, their comments, they don't know me. I don't apply them to my self-worth. Like, fuck them. What pisses me off about it so badly and gets under my skin is that they say that shit thinking that I should care about what they think. And it's like, no, dude, who the fuck are you? Like, why should I give the first shit Like, if anything, you saying that just makes me want to be even fuck uglier. Why should anyone ascribe any weight whatsoever to your opinion, especially a stranger? Like, if you don't like what you're looking at, it's the internet. The beautiful thing about that is you can just keep on scrolling and you never have to look at it again. And if you don't like the way I look, then okay, I'm not, I know that I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Like, I realize that. But, if you don't like the content that I'm producing, then okay, it's not for you anyways. Keep it moving, dude. No one, find literally anything else in the world to do but that. Like, it's pathetic to me, honestly. Like, I can't wrap my head around it. Like, I just don't understand why people are like that.
Yeah.
Well, you've made it when the trolls come out in force.
I was like,
that's true.
24 hours. Like, do I get a medal or a badge or something? Like,
Rebecca, troll hunter. But I've been to your Twitter. I've seen your content, and you may not be their cup of tea, but I think you're rather attractive. So there's that, and I've seen some content from Courtney, and she's also rather attractive.
Thank you.
So there's me simping for the episode.
Hey, I was just about to say, looking at your profile picture, Rebecca, I actually think you're quite beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. I think I had on makeup in that, which I don't wear often anymore, but just because honestly, I can't be bothered with it.
You have one of those faces where even without makeup, you'd still look gorgeous. So
well, okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
When it comes to the kink and fetish lifestyle as a whole, how much experience would you say you have with that?
I definitely wouldn't say quote unquote expertise level. Ever since I started discovering, as I got older and exploring my sexuality and, discovering what I liked and what I didn't like, I feel, as far as I can remember, I had always been drawn to bondage, not hardcore, but the shibari type stuff that's pretty, but you're tied up. I'm very, very much drawn to, and I feel like my personality also is the soft and frilly right along with a little bit harder, as far as a dominant submissive relationship, I'm definitely more the dominant daddy little girl. I'm the little girl. And I had never really had a chance to explore that much with relationships that I had. It was I would bring it up and just it's okay if you want to tie my hands to the bedpost one night, I'm stuff like that, sort of easing into it to see how they might feel about it, and easy stuff like that they were okay with, but I never really felt comfortable getting more into it. Not that I thought that they would shame me for it, but I just, didn't get the vibe that they would be into it at all, and I didn't want to scare them off. Hey, tie me up and beat my ass, daddy. That's too much for some people. But as I've gotten older, I've been pretty lucky to be able to have been involved with partners that were, if not already into the kink lifestyle and community themselves, open to exploring it with me. The ex-boyfriend that I used to go to the swingers club with in Tampa all the time, who is actually, he's my very best friend in the world now. We haven't been together for several years, but he is 110% my ride or die. But he was in a polyamorous relationship, when we met and started dating. That was my first exposure to that. I knew it was a thing, but I had never, been involved in anything like that before. I had always considered myself a strictly monogamous person. I was actually a very jealous and insecure person when I was younger, and being exposed to that sort of relationship changed a lot for me in a lot of ways, one of which being, realizing that, I'm really not that jealous of a person. I can be a little possessive, but I'm not jealous. And I think your ideas about sexuality and what you do and don't like, what you can and cannot tolerate, they definitely, they're fluid. They definitely change throughout life. Like I, never in a million years, 15 years ago would have seen myself saying, like, yeah, I'm absolutely okay with it if my boyfriend, finds some hot girl he just wants to fuck and have nothing else to do with. Like I never would have said something like that. But that's where I am now. Like sometimes sex is just sex. I require emotional monogamy in a relationship, but physical monogamy is something that can be discussed. I'm open to bringing in, like a third, or, like I said, not technically, not necessarily group sex, but like having threesomes, things like that. Like I never, when I was younger, would have ever considered doing any of that. Like it would have sent me into a blind rage to even think about someone else, touching my partner in that way or being intimate with them like that. But I think a lot of that too is as I've gotten more confident, and my self-esteem has gotten better since I've gotten older, it's allowed me to be more open towards things like that. So, back to how involved am I in the kink thing? Like I want to say, not super a lot. Like, I definitely have my personal kinks. I wouldn't call them a lifestyle thing. Like I've never been in like a true, dominant submissive relationship. I've, had relationships that had like aspect of the, dominant daddy little girl, but it wasn't like a 24/7 thing. But it's all stuff that I'm open to exploring now, and I'm not closing myself off. And if I hear or see something about like a kink or something that I've never heard of, unless it involves like little kids or animals, like I'm super open to learning more about it, because like that might be the best thing I've ever done or felt in my life. You never know. Like I don't want to, I'll try pretty much anything once. I don't want to close myself off to that. And if I try it and I don't like it, all right, that's cool. But if I do like it, like, hey, I've learned something new about myself. I've learned a new way to make myself feel good, to make my partner feel good. Like those are all good things. Like I'm totally down with that. So it's a process. Like I'm exploring it. So
Yeah, I'm very much the same way. I'll try anything
Right.
once and then twice if I like it.
Yeah,
So,
same here.
but yeah, the openness to try new things is always, I think it's kind of important, because if you shut yourself off from new experiences, even like sexual experiences, then you may miss out on the greatest thrill of your entire life
for sure.
and not even realize it.
Yeah.
But if you get some exposure to it and realize it's not for you, that's fine. Not everything's for everybody.
Exactly.
But there's too many people that see the kink lifestyle as super taboo. It's like, this is bad. Anybody who's associated with it is a deviant or a pervert. Even when I started this podcast, I announced it. It's like, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Be happy for me. I'm doing something with my life. And like my dad went full, I don't support you. This is disgusting. You're a pervert. Anybody who listens is a pervert. And I'm just like, whatever. But don't yoke my young.
What you do behind closed doors with consenting adults is none of anyone else's business. And if you choose to make it that way, good on you. That's fine. But no one has to listen. And as long as, again, everyone involved is a consenting adult, who cares? You're not hurting anyone else. And like especially within the confines of like, I try to explain this to people, like, with, like I said, not even having, like a whole ton of kink experience or having, actually lived that lifestyle like a 24/7 thing. So much of it, like, like 50 Shades of Grey. I fucking hate that shit. It's offensive, if you ask me, like grossly offensive, because it is in no way an accurate portrayal of BDSM, of that type of relationship. It's abusive. It's just gross. And that's what people know of. That's what, so, now, like, that turned into such like a pop culture phenomenon that's what people think of whenever you bring up BDSM. And it's like, I try to explain to people, like, kink, especially within the confines of a relationship, is not only, can not only be amazing sexually, like, you're feeling these great things you've never felt before, but it also creates and deepens this bond that you have with your partner, because so much of that takes so much incredible trust. And like it requires communication.
It does.
And again, requires, full, just being open about everything, communicating about everything, and really, really trusting, that your partner is going to take care of you, that they're not going to do anything to hurt you. And, that has to be mutual as well. And so it's like, if you can engage in something that not only, like makes you have an orgasm so good, you have a stroke, but it's also deepening and strengthening your relationship with your loved one in such a meaningful way. Like, why would you not give that a shot? You know what I mean? Like, what's the downside here?
Completely agree with you.
Yeah, and again, communication keeps coming up.
Communication
But yeah,
is totally key.
actually the last episode there was discussion about the 50 Shades of Grey. Actually, the last two episodes, the 50 Shades of Grey was brought up, but the last one brought up an interesting point where no matter how bad the portrayal of BDSM was in the Twilight fan fiction that is 50 Shades of Grey, it did bring BDSM to a public awareness. People that weren't aware of that there could be a thrill from BDSM might have started looking into it for themselves, realizing what it's really supposed to be, and then getting into it and opening their awarenesses. So it did serve a beneficial purpose, despite being hot garbage.
In that sense,
Yep.
like I absolutely agree with you, and I would definitely hope that, like, I don't know if you've seen that, the meme that's like the girl with making the two faces, and it's like scrolling past a kink I'm not into and then scrolling back up just to make sure, like that kind of thing. Like, you read it, and as someone that hasn't been exposed to that, or has been exposed to that and taught that that's like a negative thing, and realizing as they're reading it that it might be making their naughty parts tingle a little bit, I would hope that they would take the time to go and see for themselves and, do a little research and actually find out what it's really about. Because, like,
Exactly.
I have encountered so many people who believe that, not just from 50 Shades of Grey, but just in general, why would anyone let themselves be treated like that, as far as like being a slave, and why would you let anyone abuse you like that? And they that's all they see it as is abuse and controlling behavior. And it's like, I definitely see how from the outside it looks like, I definitely see that, but again, like, those people aren't aware of the fact that, like, a lot of those people in those relationships have like actual literal legal contracts, like, for what can and cannot be done to them. It's not that the slave, has no say at all in their treatment. Again, it does require a ton of trust and a ton of communication and a willingness to listen to your partner's needs and wants. A willingness to honor your partner's boundaries. Safe word. If you've got a dom that's not going to give a fuck about that, then they're not a dom that's worth their shit. Like, the communication is so important in all aspects of it, like every single aspect of any relationship, really, but especially like a kink relationship.
Yeah, kind of like that's one part in 50 Shades of Grey that I actually liked, is the fact that he pulled out a contract.
Right.
Where she actually has to go through everything and say yes or no to, and they actually establish the communication with this BDSM culture.
Right. Like,
that is one part that I did.
Yeah,
like
that part was accurate, and I didn't see the movie because I had, like, it was just problematic to me in so many ways. I did read the book. I did a little time in prison, and so, didn't have much to do. I did end up reading the book and begrudgingly started it, and I won't say that I liked it by the end of it, but there were parts of it that I was like, okay, props to them for putting that part in there. Again, like you said, the contract part, and making that known, at least, that, like, even though that's not, a super accurate portrayal of that type of relationship, that is an aspect of it. It's a big, important aspect of it.
Yeah, there's bits and pieces that I do and don't agree with in that movie. Yes, it is the biggest joke of BDSM culture ever. But at the same time, there are little tiny things in there that is like, okay, that makes sense.
Right. Well, and it's like, I even before I got around to reading it, people that were not, into kink at all, like that wasn't their thing, or they didn't know much about it, just thought it was so ridiculous that she would end up falling in love with him after he treated her like that. And I'm like, you know, again, like I can see what that looks like from the outside, and someone that isn't familiar in any way, shape, or form with BDSM or the kink, you know, that community or lifestyle, seeing that is like Stockholm syndrome almost, you know, like he was abusive to her and did, and it's, but you know, again, trying to explain to them, like that's just, you know, it's not what it's about. And sometimes it's like, you know, I tell people, I'm like, I can explain it for you all day, but I cannot understand it for you. Like, just, you're gonna have to take my word for it. Like, there's just a level of trust there that is, you know, unlike what a lot of people will ever reach, because of that. And so, you know, not to say that, because there are, you know, some dominant submissive relationships that are not romantic in any way, just that's the lifestyle that person wants to live. But there are, you know, many that are. Either case is valid. You know, and I'm sure that there are plenty that started out as strictly, you know, master slave, no, you know, romantic feeling there, and did end up being that way. Because to me, I feel like, you know, when you do trust someone like that on that level, and you start to give them that level of access to you in such a vulnerable state, I feel like that's like prime real estate for feelings to develop. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is. Been there, done that. I've
I've
had multiple DOMs, and each one I've had a very, very deep connection with, because I actually trusted them with my life, with my sexuality. I trusted them with everything.
Right, and that's exactly how it should be. Exactly how it should be. I mean, it needs to be that way. You can't, if you're in any way frightened about something that you're doing and you express that, and your, you know, your dominant doesn't take the time to discuss that with you and hear you out about why you're afraid, and either hold off on it or reassure you that they've got you if you continue to go ahead with it. Again, taking that time to communicate and not just rushing into it and, you know, well, you're my slave, so you're gonna do what the fuck I say. Like, that's, you know, no, like we don't do that here. Like we talk in this house about what we're feeling. We use our words.
Yes.
The Ludiverse is sponsored by the House of Algos. Go to gumroad.com/House of Algos for a wide number of recorded classes on BDSM topics, including mindfucking, negotiation, knife play, fire play, flogging, whips, developing your dom or sub side, finding play partners, and much more. And use discount code COMMUNICATE, COMMUNICATE, for 10% off of any purchase. That's House of Algos, HOUSEOFALGOS. I'm still wondering if I'm ever going to come across this topic where communication doesn't play a major part in it, because I'm pretty sure that at least somebody in the audience is tired of hearing me constantly talk about communication.
It cannot be overstated as far as I'm concerned. Like, I literally just had a conversation about this with, you know, my guy the other night, and, you know, I was like, I had gone on and on and on at length about something, because I just, you know, I'll be the first person to say I talk too goddamn much, but, you know, I'm very verbose because I strive to be very precise in what I'm saying and what I'm expressing, so that the person that I'm expressing it to or about doesn't have to wonder what it is that I mean, or is there like an underlying, like, secondary, you know, message or meaning that she's trying to convey. Like, no, what I'm telling you is what it is, and it might take me, you know, 10 paragraphs to do it, but at the end of it, you are going to be like crystal sparkling clear on what I'm trying to express. And I feel like for a lot of people, like, especially, you know, partners or potential partners in the past, like, that's just been too much. They're like, you just, you know, you read too much into everything, and I'm like, you know, I don't do nuance. Like, I expect other people to treat me the way that I treat them. So, you know, it's like, if you're telling me something, like, I'm going to take that, you know, what you say at face value. If there's some underlying meaning to it, like, I'm not going to beg you or chase after you to tell me what you're trying to say. Again, use your words. Tell me, we're grown here. Tell me what you're trying to say. And, you know, I was telling my guy, you know, I was like, I appreciate that, you know, you haven't told me to just shut the fuck up yet, because I talk all the time. And, you know, he's like, no, like, He's like, that is something that I love about you, that, like, I would rather you use 100 words to try to tell me, exactly what it is you're feeling than use 10 words and I'm left wondering what's going on, or I have to keep asking you and trying to drag out of you, how you feel. Like, it's just, like I said, communication cannot be overstated. It is any type of relationship, friendship, work relationship, romantic, your roommate, whatever. It is like the cornerstone of everything, because, unfortunately, most human beings, if any at all, don't read minds. Like, if I knew how to do that, I wouldn't be looking for a job right now. I'd be independently wealthy. So that's all we have, is the way in which we express ourselves. And if you don't do that, if you don't, tell someone how you're feeling about something, or what your boundary is, or what you're thinking about something, you can't expect them to just automatically know. Like that, it just doesn't work like that. So you just, like, again, use your word. Like, I say that so much. Use your words. Just use your words. Like, you have them. Talking is free. Just say what it is you're thinking. It's not that hard.
Yep. That's exactly how I am. I'm straight to the point a lot of the time, unless I'm severely angry or one of my mental illnesses is going fucking haywire. Then I might not be as communicative. But usually I'm very straightforward, and I'm just like, kind of like, for example, me and one of my partners that I've had before, he was very beat around the bush. Like, he expected me to just know what he's trying to say, and I'm like, no, this is how you communicate. You want to fuck? Okay. Right. Like, don't say, oh, well, I'm going to be over here if you want to meet me here. No, say it.
Right. And like, I feel like for maybe not most people, but a good portion of people, they, saying what you think or feel about something and not being sure of how the target of your expression is going to feel about that leaves you feeling vulnerable. So, like, especially in a romantic relationship, and especially like maybe a new one where you're still getting to know one another, that it can be difficult, because you don't, like, fear of rejection hurts. Like, it's only human, and the other person can be as nice as they want about it, and that's all fine and good, but it's still going to sting a little bit no matter what. Again, that's just the human condition. We all go through it. It sucks, but oh well. So I feel like that's why so many people beat around the bush, like you said, I'm trying to think how to put this, trying to like put it out there, but not fully, to sort of test the waters. Like, I'm gonna kind of half say what it is I want to say and see how you finish that, so I can see how you feel about it before I put myself all the way out there, like, if that makes sense. And
yeah,
because like I said, no one wants to get hurt, but at the end of the day, like, like I said, like, that's the only way to truly build, something like a strong foundation. Like, that's the only way to get to know anyone. Like, I was kind of talking to this guy for a minute from a dating app, and, again, like, I send, essay-length text messages, and it would just, every now and again, he'd answer me maybe a couple sentences, but mostly it was like 1 or 2 words. And so finally I was just like, okay, well, I guess you really don't want to talk. Whatever. Like, we seemed like we had a lot in common. He was super hot, really wanted to fuck him, but whatever. Like, I'm not going to chase after you to talk to me. And he just said, well, I'm not much of a talker. I'm like, okay, so how do you get to know someone if you don't talk to them? I was like, I don't understand how that, if you're not much of a talker, yeah, I'm like, okay, that's you, and that's valid, but that's not me. Like, I don't understand how you build any type of relationship or friendship with someone without getting to know them, and I don't understand how you get to know them without talking to them at least a little bit. You don't have to give me your whole life story and where you think you're going to be in 5 years and all your childhood hopes and dreams and wishes on the first date. Like, that's not, but just not saying anything at all, or okay, yeah, you're hot, okay, like that. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, how do I know if we are in any way even superficially compatible to where I might want to deepen the connection if we're not actually talking? That just doesn't, maybe it works for some people. I don't know. I'm not trying to knock on anyone. If it does, more power to you. But that does not work for me personally. So
Yeah, I can see that. Are there any other things that you are involved in kink-wise that you'd like to mention?
No, other than that, like I said, I just started my OnlyFans page. It's just been a couple of days now. I was waiting to get my ID replaced so I could actually get verified as, being old enough to do that. I get a lot of requests from people that have like smoking fetishes. I'm a smoker. I'm also covered in tattoos, so a lot of people really like that a lot. But I do, some fetish content as well. Like to the extent that I'm able, I don't have quite the collection of, toys and fun stuff that I used to. Other than that, that's about it. I just, like I said, I make porn and hope that someone wants to pay for it. So
There you go.
Well, I mean, it's becoming more popular. OnlyFans has definitely come into the mainstream, especially with the quarantine going on. People are out of work, so they're looking for other means of supplementing their income, and there's always a demand for people showing off their bodies and
right.
sharing sexual content. As much as people try to shame sex workers, the people who shame them the loudest tend to be the ones who also expect to get the same content for free.
We don't do that here. Like that's, aside from, yes, I get enjoyment out of, producing that content and showing off my body. But at the same time, that content takes time to create and produce, and it might not be a whole lot. Like there are some days that I'll dedicate that entire day to taking a bunch of pictures. But just like with any photographer, you take 100 to maybe have 3 at the end that you really like that you can use. Like it takes time and effort to do that. And my time is worthwhile. So I try to put it to people as, if you showed up to work one day and, it's like just last night I had this guy DMing me like, well, you can't send me a few pictures, you're really hot. And I said, okay, if you showed up to work tomorrow and your boss said, oh, by the way, I'm not paying you today, but you're just such a good employee, would you be okay with that? Like, no, that's not acceptable to you. Why should it be acceptable to me? This takes time and effort to create. My time and effort are worthwhile, just as yours are. Just because it's me showing my body, which is something, that I already have. It's not like, I had to work for that. Like it's still work. Like I think I sat on Twitter for like 9 hours yesterday, trying to promote myself and whatnot. And, like I will say that I think that the sex work community has come a really long way because, like 3 or so years ago, whenever I first kind of started fucking around selling content, and OnlyFans was kind of unheard of at the point. Like I've never done it on a platform before. I used to like advertise on Craigslist to sell my worn panties, stuff like that, whatever. Or, like on random forums on the internet to like sell nudes. And like even like at one point I was thinking about maybe getting into like doing camming, like on Chatterbait or whatever website. And the couple of people that, I would come across another girl posting, and, I would ask her like, hey, just tell me what your opinions of it are. Like, what are the pros and cons to it? I'm not asking for all your secrets, but, just as someone who's thinking about getting into it, what do you recommend? And always got shut down like fucking immediately, just rude. And like I was personally trying to take all their customers from them, and it really kind of turned me off to doing it. But now being on Twitter, immediately, like another Facebook friend of mine has one, and she helped me out a lot with like even as far as like how to navigate the site. And but she like immediately, when I made my Twitter for it, added me to a bunch of groups of other sex workers, and that's like all we do is retweet each other's stuff and exchange trial links so that we can go hype each other's posts up for like the site algorithms. Super, super supportive. It's not, they don't look at other women as competition, even though, as Jay said, like it's getting much more popular. So many people are doing it. But there's plenty of buyers to go around. Like, everyone is into something specific. So helping me get started isn't going to take business away from you. And as both a woman and a sex worker, like, don't tear each other down. Like, we have it hard enough as it is. There's no reason to be shitty to each other about that. But it's been, like I said, it's only been a few days, but so far just everyone that I've encountered has been so super supportive and positive about it. And I really think that's awesome that it's come along that far to where everyone is all about hyping each other up, and like people I don't even know were like following me and retweeting my post to send traffic to my page. It's like it's awesome. Like I love that. I love the community of it.
Yeah, I noticed that when I tried to start mine, I got on Twitter, started trying to promote it, and then I immediately got like recommendations. It's like, you should follow these people. So I went and checked them out, and they were like, retweet this and then share your links here, and we'll hype you up over there, and share your best, share just a simple picture, and we'll share that around and draw people to you. It's just, instead of fighting for the customers, there's customers for everyone.
Absolutely.
So we should all share
really,
them. It's a
really
beautiful
is.
thing.
And I mean, like I said, sex workers are a marginalized, if you will, but like a pretty looked down upon and scorned community. There's different ranges and levels of sex work, from actually being like an escort or actually engaging in like one-on-one sexual activity for money, which is fine, but that's also sex work. But selling, and like when I started selling my panties, it didn't cross my mind that counted as sex work, because like I wasn't touching, and I'd never looked down on it, but it didn't cross my mind that's what I was doing. I wasn't touching anyone. I wasn't having phone sex with anyone. I was just giving them a piece of my clothing. But that also counts, like selling content, selling clothing also counts as sex work. And like I said, it's something that people do tend to look down upon with a lot of scorn and disdain. And just why tear each other down, like when we've already got, the whole world looking at us like that. It's make it a community, hype each other up. Like it costs $0 for me to retweet someone's OnlyFans link, and then they're going to go do that in return for mine. And, they might have like 5,000 followers, and I've only got like 90 right now. So all those people are going to see the link to my page. Like I actually did get a couple of subscribers yesterday that came through from Twitter, from people retweeting my stuff. It was awesome. Like I wasn't really expecting for that to happen so soon, because I don't have that many followers yet, but I was like, hey, hell yeah, man. Like I'm not going to complain about that.
Oh yeah, makes me a lot more confident.
Yeah.
Like I said, having never sold on a platform before, and I knew, and I had heard from other people, like it is actual work. Like it takes time. Taking the pictures is kind of the easy part. It's the sitting on Twitter and Reddit and wherever else and blasting your link out there, and dealing with the trolls that they find you, and so like all of that is very mundane and repetitive. And there are going to be days where you might have like 20 people subscribe just based off of tweets that you made or that people retweeted, and then you might have a week where no one subscribes. Like the very first day, like I think Tuesday was the first day that mine was up and running. Like I got approved that morning, and I made $90 that day. Like, and I was like, holy shit, you know what I mean? Like, and then the next day I got like 2 or 3 more, and then like I was hoping I would wake up this morning and find a few more, but there weren't. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks, but I know there will be up and down days. Like, I'm not trying to get rich off of it. It's kind of more just like, hey, if I do make some money, that's fucking awesome. Great. Like, I'm not trying to buy a mansion with it. I'm just trying to, feed myself for the time being, basically. And it happens to be something that I also enjoy doing. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something that you are good at and you enjoy doing, there's no reason you should do it for free. Yeah, I've had my OnlyFans for a couple months, and today I got my first subscriber. So, yeah, it was you.
I'm gonna, like I said, maybe you need to go on Twitter and start just blowing it up. And like I said, I think I only have like 90 followers right now, but I mean, like the couple of groups I'm in for like people retweeting your stuff, like they add new people every day. There's all the time people, follow me, I'll follow you back. Like I'll definitely, retweet your stuff and, send as many people your way as I can. Like I said, it's all about helping each other out,
Yeah. But again, it goes back to, not everyone is everyone's cup of tea, and maybe the content I'm sharing isn't really what they're looking for.
Like you said too, there's plenty of buyers to go around. Like I am definitely, like I, definitely don't have the quote unquote like traditionally beautiful body type. Like I'm shaped like a pear. I don't have big tits. but I do have, really wide hips and a big butt. But I also have a tummy, and I have stretch marks, and, I have a nice ass, but it's also dimply. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who don't like that they like, really skinny girls, really petite with, huge tits and whatever. But at the same time, like, I've encountered just as many people who absolutely love my body type and think that I am super sexy and love seeing me. So, takes all kinds.
Do you have any other questions, Courtney?
No, I don't think I have any questions. Then the one question that we do always ask is, are there any kinks or fetishes that you would absolutely never try?
I gotta I always say I'll try pretty much anything once, but I'm scat is off the table for me. Like, in pretty much any way, any way, shape, form, or fashion. And again, not knocking or dragging on anyone who is into that, as long as all parties are adult and consenting. Get your rocks off, boo. Go do your thing, but just I'd prefer to stay out of it if that's okay. So.
Yep. Same here.
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
no
Not
kink
shame, but not
kink
kink shame either. So, it's whatever. Again, there's something for everyone. You know what I mean? So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in all honesty, the scat and urine and all that has been pretty consistently on the do not want list.
And I've, like, as far as water sports, as far as water sports are concerned, like, I don't even want to say dabbled, because that's a bit too much. Like, I've had partners that were like, oh, let me, like, pee on your feet in the shower. Like, okay, like, nothing on my face, but yeah, I'll let you pee on my leg. Like, that's cool, whatever. Like, I don't, like, I think the most I ever, like, got into it was, again, like, my ex that's, like, my best friend now, like, wanted to pee on my tits one time, and I was like, as long as you don't get it on my face, and I trusted him because we had been together for a really long time at that point. And I loved him, and I was like, I don't think it's going to be my thing, but if you want to try it, I like making you feel good, so let's do it. And we did it, and he was just like, okay, that's fun, but, not something I feel like I ever need to do again, and that was that. Like, we tried it once, and that was the end of it, so.
Yeah, that's really the only interest that I have with that would probably just be the dominance part of it, but that's it. Like, there's no other, like, I don't like the feeling. It's just it's the mental factor of, okay, right. So his dominance just...
Yeah. Well, and, like, we...
showed his dominance. Like, all right, that's cool. But other than that, as in,
yeah, like whenever else, he, no. Like I said, like, on my chest that one time, he phrased it as that was him marking me. Kind of like a dog. And, like, I liked that, because we were kind of in a dominant daddy, little girl type thing, again, not like super hardcore 24/7, but that element was there in our relationship. And so, I did consider myself as belonging to him. And, I was like, okay, like, that's just another way of you saying that. Like, I liked that. But yeah, like, if someone were to be like, I don't care how much I love you, if you come to me and say, I want to mark you by taking your shit on your chest, like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying that's like ground. No. I'm not saying that's grounds for divorce or anything, but no, and don't bring it up again. Like, the answer is not going to change. Sorry.
Exactly the same way.
Jay, do you mind if I know you said you didn't mind if I tell everyone my link, or do you want to?
Well, okay. One more question real quick. Are there any kinks that you've heard of that you had an interest in but haven't had the opportunity to try out? Either through just lack of a partner willing to do it with you, or just never had got the right timing?
I am, like, super into, like, cream pie stuff, and I haven't been on, like, I did recently start taking birth control, but I wasn't for the longest time, and I'm still not, like, still a little paranoid about it because, birth control is not 100%, but I also do not, like, that is, even being okay with, like, quote unquote casual sex at various points in my life, that is not something I do casually. That is something that, as hot as I think it is, like, I will only do that with someone that I have actual deep feelings for. So, like, a boyfriend. But, like, that, and especially him going down on me after he does it, and then kissing me and just being okay with being all in it like that, I love that shit. I've only ever got like once, but my current dude is super down with it. We just only get to see each other on the weekends, so our time together is limited. But I'm sure that we will explore that more as things go on.
It's good having
Yeah,
a
my only
partner willing to
experience
explore
with that
things
is
with you.
He's super kink positive, and like he's bi, and so he doesn't shame or judge anyone for anything, which is very open. Like I said earlier, like believes in communication being as important, just as important as I believe it is, both about the relationship and about sex. Respects every single boundary that I've put forth. Just he is a really, really awesome guy, and I am not in any way used to being treated well like the way that he treats me, but I'm really enjoying it. So
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, my only experience with that is when I was trying to get pregnant, but I didn't really play with it. Cream pie thing.
right. Well, and I would love to have kids one day, but now is not the time. So for me, it's purely a sexual thing. Like it's not a reproductive thing at all at this point in my life. That if it does ever come to that, that might change my viewpoint of it a little bit. I just part of it is I just like I said, I view that as so extremely like intimate, and like it makes me feel so like I guess the term I've heard for it before is fluid bonded. It's so super intimate, because I don't do that with anyone that I don't have really like meaningful feelings for, and it just makes me feel super close and super connected to my partner. So aside from liking the way that it looks and liking the idea of that being them, quote unquote, marking me as well, there is that emotional component to it additionally, that's just that is the sign of a very close and deep and personal connection between us, and I really like that. So
and the only way that I'm doing that now is if my sexual partner is either snipped or I have Plan B.
Right, that's
there.
Fair.
Along with my
that is
girl.
definitely fair.
I don't think I have any other questions. Courtney, I think you said you're done now.
Yep.
So if you want to advertise your OnlyFans, your Twitter,
I
you
am.
said you
it's
were
all
on
the
Reddit
same
also.
username. So the OnlyFans is onlyfans.com/RoxyGirlRiot, RoxyGirlRiot, and my Twitter and Reddit are both the same username, so you can find me on there as well with those.
And those will be in the show notes, so there's no confusion on spelling. And I will personally endorse the content because I got to get a glimpse of it, and
I do appreciate that. Thank you.
very nice. So,
well, no problem.
Thank you for being here, Rebecca.
You popped my podcast cherry. I've never been a guest on a podcast before, so.
This is actually the first time we've ever spoken vocally.
Hell, we've known each other for 10 years now, and this is the first time I've ever heard your voice.
Yeah, about 10 years. It started on Twitter.
It was right before I moved,
long time ago when
Virginia,
you were,
I think, and I moved up there halfway through 2010. So yeah.
Yeah, you were at that time about an hour away from me.
We never did actually get around to meeting in person, but we've just kept in contact all these years.
Yeah, we've been friends on Facebook and just through all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
I know, Ralph. Fuck all that.
Who says internet friends aren't real friends?
But I have internet friends that I consider family just as much as anyone else, and that's that I get to see every day. And I mean, hell, my dude. I don't know what to call him. It's not technically my boyfriend yet, but we're getting there. But I mean, I met him in a shit posting group on Facebook. It's the internet's a great place.
It is. Totally agree.
Well, I met Courtney through a kink meme group.
Yep.
So
right. Well, and I mean, I never would have been in Virginia in the first place if it were not for meeting that particular ex on Twitter. So, and I still keep in contact with a ton of my friends from when I lived up there. I haven't gotten the chance to go back up there, sadly. I hope I do at some point, but we still, keep in regular close contact with, like I said, several people from up there. So it's just funny how that all works out.
Very much so. So thank you for being on.
Thank you guys. It was nice
It's been
chatting with you
wonderful
as well.
chatting with
I hope
you.
you have a good night.
And
Let me know if you need
you have a
anything
good
else.
night as
Okay,
well.
hon?
Yep.
Well, if you come up with anything else that you feel like you need to chat about, you're welcome to come back. We can arrange something, and we'll
All right, I
make sure to
appreciate it. You
advertise
guys have
those
a
links
good
for
night.
you.
Thank you. Bye, hon.
You have a good night too.
You too. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Ludiverse. If you have any questions or comments, contact us on Twitter or Facebook. Just search for the Ludiverse. Remember to rate and review wherever you listen. If you want to help support the show, please consider donating to our Patreon.